nothing wrong. If the person is autoimmune, there's nothing inherently wrong with you. You just are a more sensitive, kind of, kind, sensitive person who needs to, who was kind of not made for the world that we have today. And when we learn how to handle the world that we have today, then we can grow and build our natural capability to do life and to be resilient and to bounce back and to be emotionally intelligent. And life no longer feels scary and hard and painful. And then your body picks up on that. You get out of fight or flight, you heal, and you self-repair.
It's interesting. And the reason I asked that question is because I've got a theory floating around in my head. And it's quite interesting because when you said it's not your mum or your dad,
Yeah.
my theory includes your mum and your dad.
Oh, okay.
Right? So when a baby is in the womb, the baby's hormonal system and therefore their autonomic nervous system is completely under the control of the environment of the mother.
Mm.
Right? So if the mother's in a stressful state, she will release stress hormones into her system. They cross the placenta. The mother's stressed, the baby's stressed.
Right.
Right? So the 9 months that a baby is in the womb is preparing itself to survive the environment once it's in the world, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So if your mother is, meditating 5 hours a day and doing yoga for 2 hours a day and just chilling, and the baby's going to come out and think, oh, this world's easy, right? Now that could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing, but they're going to come out into the world not overly in their sympathetic nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be a pretty chilled kind of kid, right? But if it's the opposite, let's say, someone's that their mother's in an abusive relationship, they've got money issues, that they might already have 6 or 7 older siblings, the mother's in a really stressed environment. Well, that baby is preparing to come out into the world into a very stressful environment.
Right.
Now, what we also know is that if someone's in that stressful environment when they're in the womb, the same as what happens to us humans, if we're in a sympathetic state, that fight or flight state, well, it dictates where our blood flow goes. Because if we're in a state of fight or flight, our blood is shunted to our muscles and to our brainstem, our reptilian brain. Well, our reptilian brain reacts like a reptile, right? There's only 3 things a reptile will do, right? It's only after safety, security, and procreation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And eating, right?
Right.
So when a crocodile wakes up, the first thing it thinks, am I safe? The next thing is, what is there to eat? Then the next thing is, can I reproduce? That's it, right? So the other thing to bear in mind as well is if a baby's born into that environment, the blood flow didn't also go to the organs. So quite often the internal organs aren't developed quite so well. As the same is with the neocortex of the brain as well, isn't as well developed if their mother was very stressed during pregnancy. So it does make me wonder if there is something in that, in terms of, there are some people born in this world that can cope fine.
Yeah.
There are others that are born into this world and they find it more challenging to deal with the world. That's just a theory that popped into my head.
I love it. I think that, yeah, I find that really interesting too, Lee, and I actually have thought about that too. I'm not gonna lie, I've gone down the thinking of like, well, what, if we're all born from a mother, what impact might that environment that we have, in the womb have on our nervous system and have on our bodies as we come out into the world. But for me personally, then kind of looking back at different examples, I mean, I have known mothers that were the most high stress mothers, and then they've had these babies that are just the most chilled out, relaxed child you never met. I've also known mothers who they did all the things they thought they were supposed to do. They drank the green juice, they went to their neonatal yoga. They tried to make sure that they were de-stressed. They took some time off of their work, and they've had the most high-strung little kids you could ever imagine. And so the variance is there.
Maybe that was the problem.
You're not being so relaxed and so
Yeah, not being ready for the environment in which
not
they were
being.
born in. If if they came out and they were too relaxed, but actually the world they came into was quite, you know,
It's
uh,
different than the.
yeah, if it's
Yeah,
quite an aggressive world that they come into, then it's gonna freak them out even more.
yeah.
I mean, it's quite interesting because I'm just thinking of myself. I was just so chilled as a kid. Always, I mean, I still am now. I'm just so chilled, but I would say I could cope really well with life. Even as a child, even if I had challenges thrown at me, I dealt with them. But the other thing that I'm thinking also, and I don't know, what your thoughts on are, that
Mhm.
everyone's got their own different views, but also things like past lives. Could past lives have an effect on
That's a good
the
question.
current one? And also things like human design as well. Again, I don't know if you're into human design, but again, the time that you're born, and where on the planet you're born, and all those things can also have a difference, and they might potentially play a role.
Yeah, no, that's really good thinking. And I know for myself, and this is what I have found helpful for me, is that I did in the past because I had all these conditions, right? I had these emotional issues. I thought, what the heck is going on? Like, is there more? What am I not looking at? Like, what did my mom do or do not do to me or with me when I was in the womb? Or, was there some kind of past life that I had that's unresolved that was maybe causing this all the unbelievable challenges that I felt that I was having in my life. And what I have found is that for me, that was not a supportive perspective to actually heal because it again was unintentionally giving me that external locus of control perspective, which was there's things outside of my control that are the cause of my internal condition and experience, thus disabling me from being able to heal. So, what I have found, like 100%, is that regardless of where we come from, meaning whether a child was born, into foster homes and that person grew up into an adult that had a very challenging childhood and had autoimmune or chronic illness, or whether that other person is a child that was born into a very good family with good parents that stayed together, that supported them, and that child still went down the road and didn't handle their life well and ended up with autoimmune disease or chronic illness, that it, regardless of, let's say, our genetics or our past, or even you could say a past, some might say a past experience or a past life, what we can control is ourself now and how we perceive and understand our life and the life that we have. And that's all we need to do to heal.